The first words came out of her mouth like a knife sliding across silk. "I'm leaving you." The words landed with such precision that the silverware on the table trembled, as though it too could feel the shock. My fork clattered to the plate. I blinked, not out of disbelief, but to steady the storm that was suddenly churning inside me. Dinner had been quiet, intimate even, until the moment she looked at me across the candlelight and said them. Her voice soft but cold. Smiled. Not the nervous smile, not the pleading one, but a calm, deliberate smile. It was the kind of smile that comes when a man already knows more than he lets on. Her face froze, the confident, dismissive expression she had carried so often in our marriage faltering as her eyes darted to the entrance of the room. And then I saw it, the shadow of hesitation, the falter in her perfect mask. Who is he?" she whispered, though it wasn't a question I had asked. I motioned subtly with my hand. The restaurant door swung open, and there he was. Michael, the man she thought she could hide from the world, the one she'd met behind my back, the one whose laughter I had once overheard echoing from a hotel room 2 streets over months ago. Michael's eyes locked on hers, and for the first time I saw genuine fear. Not from me, but from the exposure she could no longer control. "I'd like you to meet someone," I said evenly, my voice calm as the storm inside me raged. "This is Michael. I believe you already know him." Intimately. Her lips parted, as though she had rehearsed 1,000 excuses in her head and none would fit. She looked from Michael to me, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes before she realized the cruel irony. She had thought she was orchestrating the ending of our marriage, but she hadn't expected to be confronted by her own betrayal in public. The waiter froze, unsure whether to retreat or intervene. The hum of other diners faded, as though the restaurant itself was holding its breath. And then came the silence. Heavy, suffocating, accusing. I remember the exact feeling in my chest at that moment. Not rage, not sadness, but a cold, unwavering clarity. Betrayal, after all, isn't loud. It's insidious. Creeps into your bones until it becomes part of you. And now it stood before me, embodied in her trembling posture and the slick of fear in her eyes. She tried to speak, but no words formed. Not apologies. Not explanations. Not the rehearsed charm she had once wielded effortlessly. I could see the reckoning in her mind, the moment she realized that her game had ended. "You," she started, her voice cracking like fragile glass. "You knew." "I knew," I said softly, placing my napkin on the table with deliberate calm. "Not from whispers or rumors. From facts. From the truth that didn't need to be hidden. From the evidence you left lying around, like breadcrumbs for me to follow." Michael shifted uneasily, but I could see he too was trying to mask the guilt, the shame. He had no idea he was stepping into a room already prepared for exposure, a trap set not out of vengeance but out of necessity. "You planned this?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "No," I replied, my smile fading into something sterner. "I didn't plan this. Life planned this for me. You did. Every secret, every lie, every late-night text, every betrayal led to this moment. I simply made sure it ended with clarity." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. And for a moment I saw her as I once had, the woman I had loved, the one I had believed in, the one I had trusted with my heart. And then the illusion shattered like glass against concrete. I didn't mean." She started again, faltering. Her carefully constructed world of deceit was collapsing, brick by brick. I took a slow breath, letting the weight of the moment settle between us. "You didn't mean to hurt me?" "Yes." My voice was quiet, almost conversational, but every syllable carried the gravity of betrayal. "Or you didn't mean to get caught?" She had no answer. I turned to Michael then, whose discomfort was growing by the second. "And you," I said, "did you think this would be a secret forever? Did you think I wouldn't see the signs?" Michael's jaw tightened. I didn't," he stammered. But I held up a hand. "I know everything. Every message, every lie, every stolen moment." Pause. "And yet, I am not angry at you. I am disappointed. Disappointment is heavier, Michael. It doesn't fade with a night of apologies. It lingers. It shapes the rest of your life. My wife's head dropped, a quiet surrender to the truth. And in that moment, something in me shifted, not into vengeance, but into a cold, focused sorrow. I loved you, I said, my voice breaking just slightly. I trusted you. I built a life with you. And in return, you chose someone else. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Tears finally slipped down her cheeks, but they were hollow, unconvincing to anyone who had known her. They were tears of fear, not remorse. I didn't know how to tell you, she whispered. I thought I could. I shook my head, a quiet gesture of finality. Thoughts without action are meaningless. Intentions don't undo what has been done. And lies are heavier than steel. Michael shifted again, sensing the impending conclusion. Maybe we should just leave. No, I said sharply, my voice cutting through the tension. You've already left, in every sense that matters. And now, it's time for accountability. I stood, reaching into my jacket pocket, and pulled out an envelope. The letter inside contained detailed accounts, screenshots, dates, hotel receipts, the trail she had left for me to follow. I placed it on the table between them. This, I said softly, is the life you chose to live. Consider it your reflection. Her hands shook as she reached for it. I didn't stop her. She needed to see the magnitude of her choices. Michael looked at it, and for the first time I saw fear. Not for her but for himself and the consequences of being complicit in her deceit. She began again, but I held up my hand. Save it. There is nothing left to say that can undo this. Nothing. Not apologies, not excuses, not tears. For a long moment, the room was silent except for the faint clinking of cutlery from distant tables. And then I spoke almost gently. You once asked me why I trusted you so fully, why I believed in us despite every doubt. I'll tell you now. Because love is patient. Love is blind sometimes. And I wanted to believe in the best of you. But believing does not excuse betrayal. I gathered my coat from the back of the chair. You will leave. You will take your consequences. And I will rebuild the life you tried to destroy. Her sobs were quiet now, the facade of control completely gone. Michael followed her gaze, but he knew the weight of my words was final. I walked to the door, pausing for a final glance. She looked smaller, diminished, not by me but by her own choices. The woman I had loved, the partner I had trusted, had ceased to exist. Outside, the cold air hit me like a baptism. Pain lanced through my chest, but it was tempered by clarity. Betrayal is a wound that cuts deep, but it also clears the space for truth, for authenticity, for renewal. I breathed in the night air, letting the city lights reflect off the wet pavement. My life had been fractured tonight, irrevocably. But in the shards of heartbreak, I could see the beginning of something new. Something untainted. Some people say betrayal destroys trust forever. Maybe it does. But trust, like the human spirit, can be rebuilt, stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And I would rebuild piece by piece. Not for her, not for Michael, but for myself. Because I had loved deeply, and for that I would survive. And outside that restaurant, as her sobs faded into the distance, I smiled once more. Not in triumph, not in vengeance, but in the quiet knowledge that I was still whole, even when everything I had believed in lay in ruins.